So this is Stephen Abram. He is a librarian, and he is the founder of Lighthouse Consulting Incorporated. He has deep roots in the international library sector as a strategy and direction planning consultant for libraries, museums, association, and the information industry. He's been a librarian for over 45 years, always in management and strategy development roles. He has been a designated change agent in many organizations of libraries, museums, associations, consortia, and library vendors. He is well versed in facilitation, strategy, community-led development, and change management competencies as recognized leader and keynote speaker worldwide on the trends and challenges facing libraries, culture, and publishing and technology sectors. So our presentation today is focusing on a very important topic that I know a lot of our libraries are facing with a lot of our patrons either caring for or experiencing memory challenges, whether it be Alzheimer's, dementia, and so these are ways that we can support those patrons, and it's really going to be a great presentation. I'm looking forward to learning all about these different steps that we can take to bring these programs and serve this population that often gets overlooked in our communities. So again, I welcome you all. I hope that you will get a lot out of this presentation. It is being recorded, so we will be sharing that as well as the slides and all of the information that's going to help you be successful after this program is over. So without further ado, I am going to mute my mic and let Stephen introduce himself again and then present to us. Thank you so much.
Good morning, everyone. It's a beautiful fall day in Toronto, although I expect it's going to get rainy once that hurricane starts pushing some wet up here. And it's a great privilege to talk to RCLS and talk about something that I've been involved in for a couple of years. It's been a research passion of mine. And how do we create impactful programs? And so my goals today are to help you prepare your library system for how do you build awareness of the aids and tools for supporting the safety and quality of life for dementia patients, just senior citizens in general, because I'm old. We worry about our memory, and there's normal memory challenges, and then there's clinical challenges. And then there are caregivers and families, which is probably a larger audience. And then how do we train caregivers? How to increase the quality of life and independence for their family members, reduce their own worry, and increase their own balance, and reduce their own stress. Providing resources to libraries to up their game on community supports and education for caregivers and seniors regarding dementia, aphasia, Alzheimer's, and memory care, all the various versions of Alzheimer's. Those of you who work in the library, out on the front lines, know you see the full range of behaviors in this area. And then there's a personal story here about helping you and your loved ones on the journey. At ALA and PLA, there wasn't a librarian I talked to who didn't have a personal story about this. But there's a lot out there that we can deal with. So we'll get right into the 7 easy steps for a memory care program. Memory care is my preferred term because it includes all the people who worry about memory, who say, oh, I'm going up on a word. You know, that's normal and natural, and it's not an indicator. So we're looking at seniors in general. And sometimes, you know, your best friend sees you're having issues and needs to know that the library is a good place to take you. So you need to choose your strategy and prepare your facilities. You need to acquire partners, sponsors, alliances. We can't do this alone. We need to build staff awareness, empathy, and competencies. We need to build a promotion plan, and then we need to start doing programs. You can just leap into this and see how it goes, and that's a good way to pilot things. But thinking about it in advance is the various documents I'll be referencing here. And then we need to build our collections, our resources, our tools, our Internet of Things, our library of things. And then, nowadays we need to measure and evaluate, stick with it, and build. If we have a failed program, you don't give up. And so we've got some context here that I'll start off with. America's households are changing, as you can see from this chart. Our wonderful thing in public libraries is our work with kids, but kids are a very minority thing. And so you sit there and realize that the majority of your library service populations are adults. And a lot of those adults, one that we're reasonably successful with is seniors. But the adult program is an interesting challenge for us now. So there's
Stephen,
roughly,
excuse me. Are
yep,
you, I'm looking at the screen share. Are you going through the slides yet, or are you still on your first slide?
yes,
Okay,
no,
it's not changing. We're still on the 7 easy steps. Oh, there we are.
okay.
Perfect.
I
Just
will, let me just try this again and see if it's, okay, now you're on the changing structure of US households.
correct.
And did the slide change?
It didn't change now. It's still on that changing structure.
Okay, then I will not use this version. Okay, so if it's changing this way, so there's the chart on
Yes.
what's happening. You'll see married parents has shrunk a lot. A lot of that is due to the delay in parenting. Student loans being one of the big barriers to people choosing when they're going to have kids. So the average age of becoming parents is mid-30s now. And that changes the nature of the adults we serve, but it also means they're more of a sandwich generation, because when their kids are young, their parents are older. And that can put that sandwich generation into difficult positions because of everything from memory care issues to mobility issues, and caring for your parents. So this is critical to looking at how we structure the portfolio of services and programs we offer as things go. So did the slide change, Michelle?
Yes, the slide did
Good.
change. Is there any way to put it in presentation mode, or is
When
that
I
what
put it in presentation mode, it doesn't seem to move
it
forward.
doesn't want to change the slides? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll go with this then.
I don't know why Microsoft Teams is doing that, but
I understand. I
yeah.
gotcha. Okay. Well, we can see, hopefully everyone can see, the slides are changing. If not,
And if
please let me know in the chat, but we'll go with this.
and if you're having any issues reading any particular slide, you can download the slides as a PowerPoint or as a PDF.
Right.
So there's 62 million adults right now who are 65 and older. That's about 18% of the population. In the US, by 2054, there'll be 84 million adults 65 and over, making up an estimated 23% of the population. So issues with memory care are going to do nothing but grow. What research shows causes memory care issues are social isolation, where most libraries have strategies for dealing with social isolation, and especially in places like us where there's inclement weather and snow and stuff, it can be particularly bad for seniors. Social isolation makes memory worse. The second thing is having trauma as a child, in your puberty years. So when your brain's developing, having trauma like being in a war, or in this case, we've got Vietnam vets. We have a lot of people who've undergone trauma, and that raises your susceptibility to memory issues. And the third thing is poverty. And sometimes that can be an issue, although our population of over 65, largely because of the house price boom, has less poverty in it than when I was a child. So it's older today. The population's older today than it ever has been. It's way more racially and ethnically diverse. So that's one of the challenges of even choosing pictures for your program. And then the rising diversity among older Americans can't match the way it works with under 18s. So there's a diversity gap. So many of us who are in a diverse population don't necessarily understand or work with the challenges of when memory goes, you might lose your English, even though you could speak it before. When memory goes, you might never have had the language you need to work with stuff. But also culturally, there might be less isolation because there's more family support in some ethnic cultures. There's positive development. Education levels are increasing. Older adults are working longer, and this is especially true with the boomers. The poverty rate for Americans ages 65 and older has dropped sharply. It went from 30% to 10%. And older adults can meet their daily care needs. They're functioning better. They're aging in place, but they're also there's a shrinking share of them living in nursing homes and assisted living. So many of us had outreach programs, and rightly so, to nursing homes and assisted living facilities, but that target audience and that addressable target audience can be more difficult to get at now. Also, these people have been on the internet for 20 years. So we've seen, yes, we occasionally, and maybe often enough, see people with computer competency challenges, information fluency challenges, but generally this group is not bad at having a smartphone or using the internet. Goals in life expectancy have recently stalled, so they're not living longer. We don't know if that's the COVID-19 pandemic, but we also know that there's rising rates of drug overdose, heart disease, chronic liver disease, cirrhosis, and suicide. This is a challenge, somewhat driven by social isolation, somewhat driven by societal issues, but the role of the public library in dealing with chronic conditions such as arthritis is important. So we don't do emergency stuff, but we have in our collections and our displays stuff around chronic disease as a different thing than emergency situations. Obesity's increased, although now we have the shot. I was certainly on the clinical trial for tiraglutide and injected lizard spit, because that's where it's from, for 2 years. And since it gives site-specific weight loss, we're starting to see this turnaround. There's wide economic disparities, and because it's a more diverse group, And because of the traditional historical, I'm just going to say systemic discrimination for Latinos and African Americans, as people age, there are some target audiences there where nutrition, social isolation, and income can be a challenge, and the free public library can be a partial solution. More adults are divorced, so there's more divorced women, and uh, in that audience, we have more singles and more friends groups. You might even see it in your book clubs. More older women are living alone. as various women I know of my age, they'll say it's great. However, you need to make sure you don't become isolated. There's a caregiving gap because of, especially in America versus the other G21 countries. There's no government, there's very little government support or insurance popularity for covering people who need caregivers. And the Social Security and Medicare expenditures are increasing because of the large share of older adults. And then we got federal budget cuts potentially on the horizon. So places like public libraries help even out this stuff. Here's the data. I'll just leave it in the slide. And I'll just say that everyone has a personal story or 10 of, and some of this can be, there is an Alzheimer's, a couple of genes. It can be hereditary, but it's not always. Sorry. Now, underpinning this presentation, I've posted at the link below these white papers that I've written. So I've got a backgrounder and FAQ that is, and I'll talk about it later, on memory care programs in public libraries, and contain a lot of the things I'm talking about today. And then I've got a directory of memory care program ideas. So there's 26 ideas that are based on the memory care program template for public libraries. And this template allows you to create your own program. I'm sure many of you use this kind of stuff to standardize your programs. And some we're doing quite intuitively, like you just know how to do a kiddie story time and use the 5 important tricks that increase reading and information fluency and social development. I've built a collection of referenced infographics that can support education, advocacy, and marketing inspirations. There's 52 infographics on purpose because that lets you post something every week to demonstrate that you're a memory-friendly library. And you can just cut and paste these or put the link in and ensure that it's referenced. And then I've got a list of safety and security for seniors. It's a presentation that shows various stuff, and I'll share some of them a little later. And sorry. So getting into raw dementia, we've got the issue of people are prone to losing track of where they are. About 1% of patients are injured while wandering, but chances of injury rise dramatically the longer they remain missing. Half of all people with dementia who are missing more than 24 hours die or are seriously injured. Now, this is way higher than almost any other cause of death in this specific group. 40% of dementia patients get lost at some point, but the real danger is with those who repeatedly wander away. And it's a repetitive behavior in about 5% of patients. It can strain family ties and resentment between caretakers and dementia suffers, and it's just a constant worry. So a lot of caregivers need to know how to deal with reducing wandering, finding them. And it's everything from, you can imagine, there's great technologies now where you got GPS watches uh, that can tell you where your elderly person is, and it's all good. And of course, the important thing is in library land, we care. Like, oh my God, one of the best things about our profession is that we have a social value system that says we can make a difference every day, one person at a time. And we have a measurable effect on children's reading scores. We know that kids who come to story time before they go to school have a letter grade difference by grade 7 and 8 in a recent longitudinal study. So how can we ensure that people age in place? In a place like Canada, aging in place saves our government a ton of money. In a place like America, it can save insurance companies a lot of money, but it can also save on policing costs, ambulance, hospital costs. Our caring actually has a social and economic return on investment for what we're doing. And this is one of the talking points that's important for us to deal with. So now we're into the list of more detail on each of the 7 steps. So what should a room look like to be a serenity room? One of the things that happens with memory is you have higher stress. I'm sure you've seen it. They start stimming. Things you see in autistic people, where they jump or scratch themselves, you start seeing it in older people, or they uh, look like they're washing their hands, like their hands are rubbing on each other, or they scratch constantly. And so, by looking at what are the things we can do to deal with calming, and we'll talk about that. They also lose skills. Uh, so these are benches that are made so you can remember how to garden or be retrained, like, what, rebuild neural pathways for laundry, for cooking, for gardening, for making, for crafts. All of it is a way of uh, fundamentally changing the opportunity for relearning new skills. A lot of cities have programs to help facilitate meaningful engagement and community involvement for individuals with dementia. Those are in libraries and senior centers and nursing homes and seniors residences, parks and recreation. Uh, they're a proven way of uh, dealing with people. So we need to start with strategic intent. What do we want to accomplish and how do we know it? So we do an Americans with Disabilities Act audit and say, do we have everything that needs to be done here? I know in Canada, last July 1st, the new laws came in where they increased AODA, Ontario Accessibility for Disabilities Act uh, rules. And I think the ADA is probably following a similar thing where things change. So your ADA audit from years ago may not be current. And then there's going beyond ADA, stable chairs without wheels. Wheeled chairs that are wonderful in your teen area are scary for seniors because and you need chairs with arms so that they can hold on, they can sit down. When they're pushing back, it doesn't fall out from underneath them. You need walker parking. Most of us have stroller parking. Now we need walker parking so that there's a place to put everything. Wheelchair support. Can you get down your aisles where uh, people need to look for a book or do something? And so when we I do a lot of library facilities planning. I've got about 25 buildings under construction right now. And so we've lowered shelves so that the rules, the actual ADA rules in Ontario are that the top shelf needs to be reached by, or not used by, a person in a wheelchair. We don't use the bottom shelf. The second shelf has the books laid on their spines differently so that you can read them. There's lots of ways to uh, benefit the mobility challenge, but also benefit people who are doing the stuff. And then, of course, the standard accessible entrances, ramps, your aisles, all that sort of stuff. Making sure that the area doesn't have a carpet in it that causes a carpet on carpet causes tripping hazards. And then looking at your audience. So who's your audience that you're trying to get? And this is a short list of thinking beyond just the individuals and their friends with memory issues, dementias, Alzheimer's, aphasia. Aphasia isn't a memory issue, but it displays as one. Alzheimer's has 4 or 5 different versions, everything from Lewy body dementia to extreme dementia in Alzheimer's, and various stages. In the documents on my white papers, I've created or borrowed, referenced infographics that help people learn this stuff really quickly, not to become diagnostic, but to become more sensitive to the various versions of things. Think of it like with your teens. You got a teen with ADHD or a teen with autism, or a teen who's the football player and physically capable, or a teen who's cultural and an artist and plays music. There's as much variety in this group as you might want, as there should be. There's also an audience of people who fear memory issues and desire to get ahead of it and say, I want to do Sudoku. I want to do crossword puzzles. Like all of us have the senior we know who comes in to read the paper every day and do the crossword in the New York Times on the table. And that's their walk. It gives them their exercise. They come in. The nice librarians know their name and say, hi, John. And it's just a wonderful thing that we do when we create community spaces. The big audience and where you get a lot of these people to come into your programs as caregivers. And sometimes they're family members, sometimes they're hired staff, some they can be community care access workers. Sometimes they're nurses. There's lots of caregiver audience. And then you've got your own staff. And I'll talk about that in a minute. And healthcare professionals, so they know to recommend people to the library for coming in twice a week to just not, well, one, it provides the caretaker a break. It's a nice outing. They get out in the fresh air. And community organizations and volunteers, your local Alzheimer's Society, your senior citizens center. My brother has been the chair of his local senior citizen center. And then, of course, the general public. So you create a community that's aware and welcoming. So here's the template I use for building programs. A cool title. That's, obviously avoiding the rules of being judgmental. Like, for instance, I don't like the term information literacy training. It's a nice term for us to talk about it amongst ourselves as librarians, but someone should not have to admit to be illiterate. It's just bad marketing. Information fluency, people can buy into, and information fluency is a positive phrase. So when we talk about memory loss, We need to use phrases that are more welcoming so people feel confident coming into it. You know, being a successful senior. Most seniors prefer to be called older adults because there's a risk of toddlerification in teaching people as they age. Sometimes they decline, but a friend of mine who died a couple of months ago was the oldest woman in Canada and vital up until her 114th birthday. So, you know, you just never know what cards you're going to be dealt. And then who is the audience? Is it caregivers? Is it seniors with their caregivers? Is it just dementia workers, or is it just seniors? What's your goal? Is it just social? Is it reading? Is it skills development? Is it social isolation? How long are you going to do it for? As we age, our attention span goes down. It's the opposite of what people believe. You know, we keep kids in school all day in Canada from junior kindergarten to grade 12, and they have long days. And then we go on to university and we have maybe 5 2 to 3 hour classes a week. And then we go on to work, hopefully, or advanced education. And everything is a shorter class, a shorter event, a shorter meeting, so that we are constantly getting smaller attention. And then you age and you've got an expanse, especially in retirement, you've got an expanse of time that you need to fill. And of course, that's our volunteer base. That's things that people make good choices are. And then look at the space, the logistics, the equipment, the materials, and the supplies. And then look at potential community partners and outreach, how you're going to market it, how you're going to promote it, who you're partnered with. And I'll talk about this much later, and how you're going to evaluate it. And I've got a section on evaluation. And then, you know, just look to the following websites for inspiration. I'm sure you all look at Pinterest, association websites, other libraries. Google works great, DuckDuckGo. And so you've chosen your strategy. Now you need to acquire partners. You'll notice we haven't done a program yet. And so partners, consider a roundtable event with potential partners to discuss these initiatives and build a community-wide response. So I facilitated a number of these events where we get all of social services in. We get the local hospital, the local clinics, the urgent care people, senior citizens' homes, residences, and outreach and in-reach partners. Starting the conversation is just the beginning of growth in this portfolio. So consider these services. I do community asset mapping exercises, and then we assemble them into what audiences the strategic plan at the library prioritizes, and say, if we said we're going to prioritize teens or seniors or childless adults or parents, how do we do that? And then, of course, we're looking for program leaders, teachers, experts, marketing partners. Do they have a Facebook page? Do they have a TikTok? Do they have YouTube? And how do we make sure that their audience becomes our audience? It can bump up your library card activity. We know that senior citizens believe we still do fines. We know that every decent library in the country and virtually every library in Canada has canceled fines. That was our great opportunity during COVID. Since it costs us more to collect the fines, and since so many libraries don't get to keep the money, it was just a special kind of stupid. I've got a white paper on fines if anybody wants to know what the research is. And so here's the partners and sponsors. Town council, elected representatives. You know why they're interested? Because seniors vote at a higher rate. and they're the ones who will protect us. I once organized when the government was going to cut the budgets of libraries in Ontario, uh, got a bunch of 70, 80, 90-year-olds to take over the office of the member of parliament, a member of the legislature. And that got their attention, and they didn't do it. There's a local Alzheimer's association or society, and there's the national one. There's lots of resources there. I know they also have the the Alzheimer's store and a bunch of stuff. And then there's dementia-friendly communities. There's memory care facilities and senior centers. There's healthcare providers and social service agencies. There's aging and gerontology organizations and associations, nonprofit organizations, community support groups, and then local universities, colleges, and research institutions. If you have a teaching hospital, you've got doctors in training who may be interested in this. Then, of course, you're looking for sponsors, advertisers, and promotion partners. And that can include hearing aid stores, medical supply stores, and rentals. You know, you're renting a hospital bed. Many of us have had to do that. Gardening clubs and nurseries, the number one hobby. And then your genealogy clubs. I've loved doing my genealogy, but I do notice that, you know, teens aren't overrepresented in the people who are doing it. And so that's how one looks at how do we build a rugged capacity for promotion and uh, oh, I'm sorry for this coughing. I have to go to the doctor and find out if I have pneumonia right now. So start with the staff first. Is it not one of the most important things we do, which is what RCLS is doing with these seminars? How do we build staff awareness? How do we build their empathy? How do we build their competencies? They care, and then sometimes we can feel inadequate at dealing with what needs to be done here. So I have 44 easy to do training and awareness things in the document, and over once a day for 44 days, instead of sending them off for a day-long workshop, you can do drip drip training where I've put this Creative Commons cut and paste content. You can send out one every day to all staff, and within 60 days, now you know you don't do it on weekends because that's not nice. Your internal staff strengths will have increased. Lots of conversations will have already been done. People tell me that they're thrilled because it's useful in their own lives or things they know they're in the process of dealing with. And you've enhanced the dynamic of being a senior-friendly library in an important area of service. So sending out one 4-paragraph email once a day and building a culture of creating depth in service abilities, we're ready. And just put a reminder in your calendar and you're off and running. It's 2 minutes with high impact. And so here's the table of contents in the backgrounder and FAQ. And so it's, you know, you can say to the student, state to your staff, what are the audiences for dementia programs? What do dementia caregivers need to know? What do families of dementia sufferers need to know? And it goes into personal hygiene and memory issues and definitions, get caregiver burnout, and there's the rest of it. And then how do we consider and have a discussion about memory care cafes or a memory care kit that can be borrowed from the library. Then specific things like reminiscence therapy. No senior doesn't love telling stories, but how do you do it with somebody who's having cognitive issues? And so then we say, well, here's cognitive stimulation therapy. And so all staff, not just librarians, can create this sort of stuff. So you can see that that's a way to get your staff up and going. And it's just one email a day. It's not a horror of work, and you don't have to have a full staff day on this. Although you could launch it at your staff day and say, this is what's coming. And then combined with that is a promotion plan so that you can look at how do we make our community aware of all they need to do. So I talked about the 52 infographics to train and educate the staff and communities. And so what we want to do is learn about services to individuals and partners serving populations. And so some of these are from nursing homes for training nurses. Some of these are, what are the various types of Alzheimer's? You can choose to meet some visionary goals in serving the seniors in your membership by providing innovative, inventive, and impactful activities in-house, in partnership, and during outreach. And you promote awareness in your communities using these gaffers. There are many good hooks to engage your communities, since most of us will experience ourselves as a caregiver to friends and family some memory issues on the memory loss spectrum. One great strength of our profession is that many of you see patrons experiencing physical and mental health issues daily and look to help where we can. And we and our colleagues are a curious bunch. That's one of the things I love about our profession, because we love to learn. We love to learn more. We love to increase our skills. We love to serve the members of our library well and with empathy for great social impacts on our communities. So consider a 60-day, easy to do training and awareness email. Use these graphics and send and post it to your website. It doesn't even need to be 60 days. It can be 52 weeks. Once a week, post something on your Facebook page. Use it as one of the slider bars on your website, so that as your staff strengths increase, the awareness that you're a source to come and address some of the issues that people in your community are experiencing. And you've created a positioning as a senior friendly library in an important area of service. So post them weekly, and without explicitly stating you're a dementia friendly, memory positive library, you make the point. Start small and build forward. You just can't build all this. And this is where it looks like a mountain you have to move or climb, and that's too hard. So how do we play by doing? And so some of the simple things are program pilots. Designate a staff team or yourself, if it's a really small library, to investigate, try, and evaluate a seniors memory care program while learning from successes and failures. One of the most popular pilots is a conversation circle where people come in and chat. And we have on the list and in the documents, games, card games, memory games. We have warm-up exercises, thumb balls that help people say, well, what's your favorite cookie? And it warms up adults to actually start a conversation until they're all talking. And you see people who are depressed, socially isolated, and suffering from early memory issues uh, suddenly wake up and say, I'll come here every week if my daughter will bring me or whatever. And so we've got all those programs outlined in the document that you have access to. And then build community resources. This is a basic in libraries. We've moved into the library of things. A lot of our libraries have things, whether it's a depression light that you can borrow to sit under, or it's a radon testing kit. You can acquire tools, games, toys, and more that enhance memory care programs. Take them home, test them out, and then decide which one should be in library usage and which could comprise of borrowable collections. So there's borrowable kits that you can design, and then there's some out there. I've seen a number of vendors doing this at ALA and PLA. And then there's hundreds of opportunities for collections. So let me talk about the review procedures for books and DVDs, conversation games and icebreakers, puzzles, pets and dolls, tools to reduce stimming and anxiety, games, art supplies, paint and color, music and simple radios, and assistive devices for trial and petting zoo activities. Oh, sorry. So caregiver orientation is a key market, and it's something that they can borrow DVDs out of your library and books. Teepa Snow is the guru in this space. She's an occupational therapist and noted speaker in the area of dementia. With over 30 years of experience in geriatrics, and one of my close friends is head of the gerontology department at a hospital. So she and I have had long conversations on this because she's an expert in it. And my goddaughter has her medical qualifications in gerontology too. So it's fun to talk to them if you have someone in your friend group who works in a senior's home or whatever, is to talk about some of their skills. So she's got the being there, done that skills in her formal training. She's got credibility, experience, and whatever. But so this is, you can either do it as a program and watch Teepa's video as a group, or you can set it up as a borrowable collection. So what do caregivers need? So we have bathing without a battle, just a very specific thing. Watch the DVD. Mouth care without a battle, where their dentures or mouth health. And of course, we know that dental health is closely tied to heart and physical health. And then we have Alzheimer's and African Americans to called Echoes from the Past. So we got Teepa Snow, and then here's Teepa Snow's video. She's got in-home dementia care, the art of caregiving, the journey of dementia. It's all in your approach. These are a great collection for people who are dealing with it. And then there's the book, The Dementia Caregiver Guide. That's her book. Other DVDs, creating essential dementia care settings. And so how do you enhance their self and a sense of home? How do you maximize cognitive and functional abilities? And how do you minimize disruptive behaviors? When somebody is frustrated as they can possibly be, what do we do? And then we've got Then you can choose to add DVDs on dining, memory activities, safe haven. This is the complete guide to Alzheimer's proofing your home. I suspect most of you have it in your library already, but it's the Bible for people trying to deal with this. It's been through multiple editions. And then there's workbooks, things where people who've been there, done that, talk about their personal experience and what worked and create the you're not alone situation for caregivers. And there's just so many books in this area. Now the interesting thing is plotless entertainment. Those of you who know somebody who is seriously in dementia or just old, and God knows I've done this, fall asleep while watching a TV show and can't follow the plot. But you want to watch the TV show and you didn't intend to fall asleep, but clunk, you go. And so these are plotless things that might, like, sitting there looking at art or orchids or museum tours, nonfiction things, looking at puppies and flowers and that sort of stuff. These kind of plotless DVDs are aligned with how dementia sufferers need to be. And then exercise classes. There are ways to do sit down dancing, and Bonnie Hill has various ways of doing chair exercise, which might fit in the way you do yoga classes in your library. So that was just the highlights. Now there's that you can add to your collection. I'm going to talk about a little later on some of the challenges that face us on dealing with the library of things. So when you measure and evaluate, you stick with it and build, that you evaluate what's going on. I'm not a fan of key performance indicators where somehow we can reduce human satisfaction with our programs to numbers. I like to measure qualitative things as well. So we keep people interested, keep people informed, keep people involved, keep people inspired. That is such a key role of our libraries. And some of these kinds of things are leading indicators that drive the activities that give us insights into the activities that drive future success. And some of them are lagging indicators that are retrospective and reflect the result of past actions. But if we haven't improved them, we aren't in a state of continuous improvement. That's not entirely it. So we're constantly looking at, you'll notice that this graphic is like an infinity symbol, and it's just constantly doing the figure 8 pass. And then we're looking at objectives or key performance indicators or culture and engagement indicators. And this is just a chart you can look at later, but culture and engagement is equally important to attendance and whatever. So it's a simple test. The way children's programs, you don't really only evaluate them per program. Most libraries have gone to looking at a 6-week plan, so that at the end of 6 weeks you ask the parent or the child caregiver, did the kid change? Did the kid clap in time to the stories? Did the kid learn social skills and sitting and listening? Did the kid there's always the one who's out there and goes wild, but then there's all the things of story time. Did they learn a song? Well, it takes several times at Children's Story Hour to get those indicators of future reading success. Rhythm by clapping, singing, fluency with words, that sort of stuff. So now here's some program inspiration. Now this is maybe more out there for some of you, but it's certainly the norm in a lot of libraries where I know of one library that has 12 Oculus lenses, and they just take it around all over the place and take people on tours when they're mobility challenged or whatever, and says, okay, we're going to go through the Vatican today. Or we're going to visit Rome, or we're going to visit Paris. And it's, you have the experience, and then you have the conversation. They share when they were there, whatever. It allows people to be transported to new location and engage in those worlds from the comfort of their own space. Augmented reality allows for the interaction with a physical space to get additional knowledge about a physical item they're looking at. It can be used as a wayfinder for language translation and more. I'm sure we're going to see this with some of the Meta Ray-Ban glasses, where where the translation mode, someone is speaking to you in Spanish and it's automatically translated to English in your glasses. It's pretty cool. So you can do virtual travel, history tours, museum tours, city tours. You can connect with family members from anywhere in the world. You can tour old memories. Create a photo tour of your own. So you can run a workshop for caregivers on how to assemble stories, and then how to record the senior's voice on their family pictures and tell the stories. It's like a holo ride. So you just set up a connection room and a planned Zoom sessions for family members to connect with their loved ones. So it's really, really cool. And these are easy to learn things for us to play amongst ourselves and then transfer those skills into others. And that's the therapeutic powers of this. It builds cognitive functions. It brings memories back, the mental stimulation aspect. It's a great way to bring people together. Group tours, when multiple headsets are linked together, so it's outreach to nursing homes, senior centers, whatever, but it deals with social excitement. They start to feel up to date when they can talk to their grandkids of, I was using virtual reality, and maybe the kid hasn't yet. So it's tech for all, and it's not hard to use. And we can deal with the various learning distances that we've always dealt with in libraries. So we got Alzheimer's and dementia, but nearly every one of these tools works with teens and kids too. Like starting a conversation, Kirko, can work in your Rainbow Alliance. It can work in your teen club, book clubs, and you can deal with tools like your ebook collection. Just doing a session on ebooks on why they stopped reading. It's oftentimes because their glasses and their vision just isn't good enough anymore. But most of us have what, 30, the average is about 30,000. I know libraries with public libraries with up to 150,000 ebooks. Well, training people on how ebooks can be used for bumping up fonts and increasing leading and using bold fonts, or using dyslexia font, or using anything that helps someone read, those skills work for seniors, and it's a way of repurposing and changing the dynamics of how things work. and it's all good. And so those learning differences that change over our lives, especially something like reading in our eyes, this is important. So you can show them how to manage tasks. So this is a voice controlled alarm clock, comes with your own Google Kit, and you can create it with library related questions and answers. Or you can just use it like a Google Home or an Alexa. So you can say, Rosie, just remind me at 12:30 every day to take my arthritis pill. And then Rosie will remind you. So it's a way of dealing with things. Wall clocks. So if you have a seniors friendly library, uh, you can have simplified clocks. And so I know of a supplier that has a dozen different clocks, sometimes digital, sometimes old style analog, depending on how senior your senior is. And then using dolls or animated pets like teddy bears can reduce stress, agitation, and depression. And it doesn't deal with the allergy issues that make some libraries have to avoid putting pets in because of staff or patron uh, allergies. Realistic dolls and pets can help non-verbal individuals initiate speech. And pet therapy, joy, companionship, particularly those with Alzheimer's, dementia, or severe anxiety, to talk about their first pet. Tell me about your cat. Tell me about your dog. And so these dogs have beating hearts. The cat on the side there, when you rub its chin, it purrs. They calm people down. Fiddle mitts are for dealing with the stimming. And so, so you can see this one is full of things to touch and play with, which creates a sensory stimulation and reduces anxiety and depression. And it fosters social interaction because you're just giggling and having fun with the ball inside the muff. Memory recall. So things like these are, how do we reskill people on activities like latches, laces, clasps, zippers, locks? Uh, the way you make it less insulting is to make it a race. It creates the opportunity for people who may have deteriorated dexterity because of arthritis on their hands uh, to practice and move with some of these uh, small muscle skills. Some libraries have 6 or 7 of these kinds of boards that have everything from tying shoelaces on an apron to threading to whatever. And so you can let people borrow them for a month or whatever. You can provide instruction cards for care or use and how to use it. And it's important to let them know what the goal of the thing is and how to do it in an welcoming way that's not infantilizing the senior. And then you can set up a quiet space and have these items on display for use. And then you have a library program, people sit in a circle and pass them around and talk about them. So we can deal with accessible issues. And I'm sorry about the spelling mistake on accessibilities when you use, and all the other words, when you use, this is the next stage in creating visuals with AI, is to get it to actually spell things right. Anyway, you're already teaching people how to use their iPads on reading and searching. Uh, this adaptive technology is people just aren't as aware as they need to be on what's going on. So then there's the games, the communication game that can be borrowed or it can only be used in the library. It can be used for intergenerational engagement, uh, promotes meaningful conversation, and you can include those with dementia because the game's been simplified and it can be worked at the level of whatever stage someone is at. This is the thumb ball I was talking about. You just toss the ball to somebody or pass it to somebody, and they say, my childhood, and their thumb lands on my childhood best friend. And then they tell a story about their childhood best friend. And as it goes around, invariably, people no longer throw the ball and just start talking. And they've been cognitively stimulated to talk about small talk, food I can cook, season I enjoy most, my favorite Christmas, my favorite Hanukkah. Memory game, shake loose the memory. And so it promotes memory recall. And these are the sort of games that are great activities. It's not infantilizing, but it gets people having some fun. This is my friend Brian's cat that started doing this if they couldn't get fresh water fast enough. So we're looking at how do we empower independence. So looking at smart home devices, I've always encouraged every one of my clients to get an Alexa or a Google Home in the library and let people play with it on the reference desk and just ask it a question, then ask the librarian a question. Invariably, of course, the librarian's answer is better, but it builds skills. And so we start to get inspiring by looking at individuals gaining more independence for turning off lights, or say, turn off the lights at 9, turn on the TV, I want to watch Jeopardy, and it turns on the TV. These AI smart home devices are amazing, and they have an emotional impact on autonomy, control over their environment, and not feeling like their caregiver has to do everything for them. And it's just lots of accessibility and cool stuff. So, caregiver support, you can consider legal classes, workshops, power of attorney, power of health attorney, wills, support workshops, emotional support, public resources available, and supportive community. So it's obviously like getting power of attorney is something you need to do before their dementia increases where they're not of sound mind and or body. And so you can look at other things in your collection. I already mentioned that ebooks are an important collection. We know that seniors in surveys I've done are the highest users of ebooks. And it's especially important in rural communities where the library might be a long drive away, but the internet lets them download things or go to the coffee shop and download things if they don't have good stuff. And if your resources are a sensitive topic where someone's worried about it, you can look at private bags when requested. So here's some quick rapid ideas. Emerging tech trends and how they might benefit seniors and individuals with learning differences in the future. Host a workshop and just let people have that petting zoo. And you can get all the devices in. You can maybe make a partnership with a store in town. Enhancing digital literacy, focusing on navigating the internet safely, recognizing scams, protecting these people can be enormously susceptible to digital scams, and teaching them the information fluency to do that. And it's important. And then fitness and wellness apps and devices tailored for seniors, low impact programs, meditation apps. I have Calm on my phone for when I want to listen to a waterfall or something like that. Workshops on using digital tools for creative expression, digital painting, music composition apps, writing software, AI. Showcase how technology can be a medium for personal creativity and storytelling. I just published my book that I did with, oh, now I'm going to lose the name of it. Uh, there was it sent me a question every week for 52 weeks. And I did a couple of optional ones, but I wrote my memories for my granddaughter. And that can be an important part of keeping me engaged to write something in an hour every week. Recycling old devices and choosing sustainable tech products. These can bring them into the community where it's not just seniors, although seniors have a lot of old crap. One of the most popular programs I know was how to sell things on eBay. And it was marketed as what's in your attic or basement that is dragging you down. And how do you, it had a course on photography against a white sheet, against a green sheet for green screening it. It had a course on how to set up your eBay account or your Kijiji account or your Facebook Markets account. And those are all things that keep seniors engaged. And so that, but it also supports all the different generations and it can do the pairing of seniors with younger tech mentors. We had in Seattle, we had the teen group go out and take pictures of every gravestone in a in undocumented graveyards and had the seniors type in all the stuff. And now it's a permanent part of the genealogical record where you can find that gravestone for people who do genealogy. And it fosters a community spirit, it bridges generational gaps, and it's a shared learning experience. And we've seen teens become close friends with these older adults, a surrogate grandma or grandpa. Digital art and design, I mentioned earlier. Gaming. It's evolved from classic arcade games to massive online games. My father, who lived to 84, would play games nonstop, not nonstop, whenever he wasn't out with his buddies, uh, that were community oriented. So it was the next best thing to having friends around the house. Uh, we know that the largest market for games is women and older adults. It's not teens, although teens is important. And so we can't have that prejudice. And this is from the Computer Gaming Association that studies what people are doing. And God knows I do the low level games, Candy Crush, Pet Rescue, but you can also do Sudoku, and fun to play, fun to do, Sudoku. And the whole photos thing, you know, a scanner is under $99. You can scan photos till the cows come home. You can have events and saying, we're doing photos this week on our scanner of Santa Claus parade in our town. So you create local history stuff. Or we're looking for picnics that were at the park, or we're looking for historical photos of the old buildings in town. And then you can tie it to a little bit of an AI experience. And so many people grew up with film, including myself. However, we didn't do as much of the filters. We didn't take thousands of pictures because it was basically free when they're digital. And so just teaching filters and edit options and how to shrink them and how to get rid of red eye, uh, and buying that one piece of software so that everyone in the library can use it, including your seniors, so that you're engaging them in those creative activities and creating a legacy for their grandchildren. This is a music player, and all you got to do is lift up that tab and it'll play music, and it comes with 40s and 50s music in it, but you can program it through Spotify, through a USB drive, with any kind of music you want. So you can say, I want a swing playlist, and you put it in there. And so music calms people. And taking one of your rooms and making it senior friendly, like that meditation room or uh, serenity room I showed early in the presentation, music helps. And
Excuse me,
so,
Stephen.
yes,
We had a question on that music device.
yeah,
What was the brand name of that?
simple.
Okay,
There it is.
there. So
And and
it's
and in the documents, I have a link to it. It's
great.
just that
Thank
it's
you.
so easy to use. Some of you have taken one of your library branches and made it vinyl. Uh, you can do a vinyl program because of uh, there's some therapeutic benefits of vinyl versus digital, uh, which are interesting. You can do the research. Uh, and music is now easier to get at our fingertips with a click of a button. And so now we're looking at how do we simplify Spotify, or how do we train people how to use Spotify or Apple Music or that sort of stuff, so that they can create a playlist that their caregivers can use to generate memories. We create playlists for my granddaughter for her favorite songs. And right now we're just adding in Monster Mash because Halloween is coming up. And it gets her dancing, and that's what happens with some of the Alzheimer's people. All of a sudden, they're alive again. Arcade games, lots of board games, puzzles. There's what I was talking about. And hosting concerts or festivals or VR concerts. Here's some links I love. And the Alzheimer's store. I've worked with the Alzheimer's store, and I've worked with mindcarestore.com. And they have thousands upon thousands of these products that I've shown pictures of. And you can try and get a grant is another way of doing it, or set aside some money for testing as you move forward. Here's my blog. I have a memory care blog, and it puts up one or two posts every single day for a year. And so there's a way to add that to your RSS feeds and get inspired. I try to take various things that were in any of the white papers I did and have it go drip, drip, drip at people. If you're interested in following technology trends or library trends or library advocacy issues or leadership, my blog, Stephen's Lighthouse, does that. I know a lot of you are already on it, but it's Stephen's Lighthouse is one of the top 5 most popular blogs in the world. And I try to make it fun. And it's really just things that I want to remember. So it's maybe not timely because I try and read the damn article before I post about it. And then following, I'll do 5 minutes before questions on the slides that have extra advice, various products that I like, that I think are fun. And so it's, how do you do a cell phone app that actually shows everybody's picture when your eyes aren't so good at reading the text on a little phone? And how do you, what are the various options on getting in and out of the bathroom? Like, do you need to cut apart your whole bathroom, or can you just have a step that keeps you safer, especially when falling is a huge issue? And since your hips and your long bones in your legs are oftentimes by your 70s and 80s the last remaining reservoir of places where your red blood cells are made inside your bones. Well, they mostly harden over time, and the big bones, the hips and the long bones, are where you're getting your red blood cells, and you need to be good about keeping that going. These are things that caregivers want to know about. Waterproof bed maps. Here's some of the clocks that are like, there's a clock that says now it's Saturday morning, or a talking clock that just says now the time is, and you got reminder clocks. You got oldies hit songs for music therapy. A TV remote from Simple that makes things easier. Anybody who's ever had to retrain their mother like I did on how complicated the freaking remote control got. And then the calming pets. I talked about the robotic pet. This at ALA and PLA, this attracted more librarians than anything else. And they jumped back whenever they tried to pet it and found out it was pretending to be alive. And we got dogs too. And so there's like tons of these. I have libraries who've bought a dozen of these pets and put them in their senior social circle in order to get them all calmed down and start the conversation circle so that things can be fun. And here's games, reusable bingo cards, things that you could use for anybody. But there's brain puzzles, there's memory card games, 36-piece puzzles that are adult puzzles, but the way you do them is to have, there's a set of 4 that one of the suppliers does, and you can have a race on who can get their 36 puzzle piece together. So it's not talking about we're building brain health. That can be sideline, but it's talking about let's have a little fun, a little competition. And then we have mind games like a total brain health toolbox, sharpen your senses cards, aerobics, Mighty Mind, giant playing cards to make a group activity. Puzzles, sometimes they lose the ability to see emotions, so you have this ability. And then we've got, I remember these when I was a child, to get wool as part of the reusable craft sheet. Fidget muffs, there's all kinds of them. And then there's more fidget gadgets you'll see in the top right hand corner. Retraining activities for how to get in and out of things. We did blankets. You'll see these at fall fairs and state fairs where people are being sold because it's calming. And so they got scarf ones and blanket ones, but it calms people down so that the caregiver can have a conversation with the person about something important. Like, Grandma, you can use the kettle, but you can't use the gas stove anymore. Sensory pillows, fidget gadgets, the thumb ball, tack boards as a craft for creating memories. Bring in your phone with pictures on it or pictures you have. We'll scan them and create a cool craft. It's a nice Christmas gift. I showed you the life stations. And then there's the cards. I have a condition called early dementia. This person I am with has Alzheimer's. Please be patient. Thank you. And those are helpful things to make sure that they're life stuff. So, what are your thoughts and questions? What more do you need to know to make plans, decisions, etc.? I've provided you with the links to all the documents, and Michelle can put that up on or in the follow-up email. But does anyone have a question now that I'm not showing slides?
Thank you, Stephen. That was wonderful. I'm just checking to see if I can turn people's mics on, but it's not letting me do it all at the same time. But so if anybody has any questions they want to throw in the chat, I can read them aloud. Any thoughts, anything that you'd like to know? I know Mike commented that the remote was a good idea.
Oh,
Because
the streaming.
the streaming TV is difficult for seniors.
I don't understand why I'm watching a program on streaming TV, and my wife normally handles the streaming, but if you've been watching it every night or every week for a few weeks, why doesn't it come up on the play next one list? It's just unbelievably stupid.
So I did have a question from Sierra. She said, how popular have you noticed take-home memory kits to be?
They can be very popular, but they need to be promoted. When you look at your kits, many of you were already doing, especially over COVID, you were creating craft kits, reading bags, that sort of stuff. This is a way of extending and building on that and promoting it for what it really is, which is usually family activities that keep grandma and grandpa involved too. And that's like, it's about thinking through without infantilizing, but say what we'd like as a family is to have a game night. But some of the games are beyond Nana now. And so let's pick what is a game that would work. And so if you and what are games that don't involve winning or losing, but involved that the goal is a family conversation about memories that are positive and helpful, and all of that can be can make people want to make an emotional attachment to the library for like we have with reading or children's story hours.